There's been a lot of Marcus Freeman Monday press conferences where we come out of it saying, you know what, Notre Dame's pretty healthy. All things looking good on that front. This was not one of those Mondays for the Fighting Irish. Really, it was not one of those Sundays. The university announced on Sunday that linebacker Kyngstonn Viliamu-Asa is out for the season with a knee injury. Jack, we kind of expected that, looking at how he got injured against Syracuse on Saturday. Didn't look good, and everyone was fearing the worst, and it is the worst. KVA is out for the rest of the season. That obviously means a college football playoff push potentially for the Fighting Irish. And I've been saying it all year. This is probably Notre Dame's second best defensive player behind Leonard Moore, who's going to be a first-round NFL draft pick. What did Marcus Freeman have to say about the KVA injury? Maybe who's going to replace him? All of those things. How is this shaking up for this Notre Dame team?
Well, who's going to replace him is a really interesting question because KVA wore so many hats for this defense. He played Mike, he played Will, he played Rover, or whatever the outside linebacker is called these days. He played defensive end on third downs. There's a lot of guys are going to have to step up. Just off the top of my head, Drake Bone's going to have to play a lot more at Mike. Jane Osbury and Jalen Sneed. Sneed both at Will and at edge rusher, and potentially even at outside linebacker against 12 personnel. Boubacar Traore and Bryce Young are going to have to add a little more pass rush power off the edge without KVA. And then as far as behind Bowen at Mike, Freeman mentioned Madden Framo, even Kahanu Kia, who hasn't been a defensive factor to this point in his Notre Dame career, but he plays a lot of special teams for Notre Dame. He could be a depth piece now, or at least is on the depth chart. So, yeah, it's a lot of guys that are going to have to step up, but more to the point on KVA, he was such a defensive playmaker for these guys in all areas of the field, especially the backfield. 7.5 tackles for loss, 3.5 sacks. Freeman said it just sucks for him just because of how hard he works and just what a season he had been having.
Yeah, he would have been a huge part of Notre Dame's journey going forward into December, maybe even into January, and now he's got to watch from the sideline. Other injuries, it's kind of the same on that front. You got Cooper Flanagan with that Achilles. Saw him in one game this year.
He's questionable now.
He's questionable now, exactly. Don't need to play him against Stanford, but it's one of those things where his health is probably paramount for this team moving forward. You would love to have that extra body outside, and he's a really good one too. Eli Raridan and Cooper Flanagan is a whole different deal in your 1-2 at tight end as opposed to Eli Raridan and Ty Washington. You've seen some Jack Larson, James Flanagan, but Cooper Flanagan's a different player there. The kicking situation, Jack. Noah Burnett is also questionable. Marcus Freeman said this could be the week that he gets healthy enough to kind of reinsert himself into that mix, maybe compete for that number one place kicking job, which has belonged to Eric Schmidt, the true freshman, for a couple of weeks now. Notre Dame has not made a field goal since the NC State game, and that is well over a month ago at this point. Notre Dame needed a lot of field goals in the college football playoff last year. Jack, how do you see this thing going? Marcus Freeman talked a little bit about the Noah Burnett situation and maybe how it compares and contrasts to the situation that Notre Dame had with Mitch Dieter last year.
Well, to be fair with that, they haven't made a field goal in 2 months. They haven't exactly attempted a lot of field goals either. I believe they're 0 for 3 since the NC State game was the last one they made. Yeah. As far as how this could go, I don't think anyone, Marcus Freeman included, knows that right now. He basically said that once Noah Burnett is healthy, and only once Noah Burnett is healthy, because they can't have that conversation until he is, then they will decide where they go from there. I think that's something that they might have to sort out throughout the 20 days or so between the last game of Notre Dame's regular season and the college football playoff, if Notre Dame does get there, which, as we both know by now, is pretty likely not a guarantee.
Yeah, there's some doomsday stuff out there still. We'll talk about that in other videos and definitely at blueandgold.com as well. But just one more thing on the kicking situation. Yes, you have those 20 days before the playoff would presumably start for Notre Dame, but this was something where you felt pretty decent with Mitch Dieter because he was able to come back in that regular season. If Noah Burnett doesn't kick against Stanford, then, like you said, Jack, it's a complete unknown that even Marcus Freeman doesn't know how that kicking situation would fare in potential college football playoff games. So before then, Notre Dame obviously has one more regular season game against Stanford. Marcus Freeman talked about the Cardinal a little bit today. Frank Reich, their head coach, he has all the NFL experience. He's only their head coach for this game. It was always a transitional year, if that's what you want to call it. Andrew Luck was like, hey, let's let this guy kind of establish who we want to be, but going forward, we're going to need a longer-term option. What did Marcus Freeman have to say about this rivalry game, about Stanford, and about the way Notre Dame has to finish up a regular season on the road against the Stanford team.
Yeah, just going a little more context for those who don't know about why Frank Reich is Stanford's coach for this year and only this year. Stanford had to fire, Stanford's GM, Andrew Luck, had to fire, I believe it's still the only known instance of a GM firing a head coach in college football, had to fire Troy Taylor, Tory Taylor's the Bears punter, Troy Taylor, in March, due to allegations of mistreatment of specifically female employees, but I think a lot of employees in general. Decided that was not the direction Stanford could go at that point. But at that point, it was March. Coaching cycle is pretty much over. So Andrew Luck calls up his old NFL head coach Frank Reich with the Colts, and says, "Coach the team for this year. Is, like you said, establish a little bit of a program identity while they look for a permanent solution." So that's their situation. Stanford's 4-7, coming off a pretty nice win at home over a Cal team that's not going to garner any playoff consideration, but it was a 6-4 team coming in. It's not a bad win, and they beat them 31-10. This Stanford team, as Freeman made sure to note, 4-1 at home. So if you're looking for Notre Dame's motivation to prepare for this one, there you go, because this has been not just the results, but in a lot of statistical categories. Freeman explained a different team at home and on the road.
What do Notre Dame and Stanford have in common this year? They both beat a team to the point of that team needing to fire their head coach the next day. Cal got rid of Justin Wilcox on Sunday, I believe it was. So, again, this is a better Stanford team than the ones that Notre Dame has blown out the last two seasons. We don't talk about the 2022 Stanford game all too much, but it's not that team either, because that was a big deal that year because Stanford was so bad and was able to beat Notre Dame. This is a Stanford team that's better than that one, better than the last two, like I said. So particularly pretty good in the running against the run on defense. That's one thing that, like, if you're going into this game, you're like, okay, how could Notre Dame potentially stumble? It's what if Stanford stops Jeremiah Love? I don't think that's going to happen. What did Marcus Freeman have to say about Jeremiah Love today, Jack? It was all glowing things, and even without, like, Marcus Freeman doesn't lean into the Heisman Trophy candidacy all too much, but what he said today, like, without mentioning the word Heisman, he pretty much described a Heisman Trophy caliber player.
Yeah, Freeman, the lines that stood out from what Freeman said about Jeremiah Love was that on quarterback power or quarterback counter, when they put Jeremiah Love in there as the lead blocker, just watch him work and light someone up, the linebacker, safety, or whoever's filling that hole. That is something that Jeremiah has said before, like, he loves to do. It's just an example of the impact he makes without the ball. The broader impact he makes, of course, is like, even when he doesn't have the ball, the fear of Jeremiah Love getting the ball, that impacts opposing defenses. Yeah. So that's kind of the case for him to win the Heisman, right? Because even though he's not going to have like the 300 touches like Ashton Genty had, right, he impacts the game like he has 300 touches.
Most outstanding football player is the moniker for the Heisman Trophy, and in many ways he probably is exactly that, the most outstanding football player in college football. So yeah, one more thing going into this last game, and I think it's been very evident. Pitt game for sure, even Navy, if you want to go back to like the last three games for Notre Dame, it's, I don't care who the heck we're playing. Marcus Freeman said it today. Again, this is Notre Dame's Super Bowl at Stanford. And to use the Syracuse game as an example as well, he said, I know it got out of hand. I know the score says 70-7, but our guys were ready for the fight of their lives in that game. And that's probably how it got to be 70-7, as they came out and they left nothing to be desired, everything out there on the field. Jack, do you believe that's what you're going to see from this team on Saturday? And if you do, I mean, at 10-2, is it a case of nobody really wants to play this Notre Dame football team right now?
Well, I do, because we've seen it 19 times over the past 2 years. This is a testament to the coaching job that Marcus Freeman and company have done since the start of since NIU in the 2024 season. This is going to be their 20th game, and I know every coach will say every game is a must-win game.
Except for Pat Narduzzi.
Except for Pat Narduzzi, of course. But every game since NIU in 2024 and since Texas A&M in 2025 has been, if you lose, you are done. Yeah. Playoffs are out of the question. Notre Dame is 19-0. They got their 20th today. Freeman said, like, they treat every game as a Super Bowl, because it is. Because if Notre Dame loses their season, or at the very least, what the goals that they can accomplish, or that they set out to accomplish, are done. No chance of accomplishing them. They've done it 19 times so far. I have full confidence they'll do it 20th.
And that's the growth of the program since 2023 even. You know, Sam Hartman was this team's quarterback. You thought you had playoff aspirations that season. And after losing to Ohio State, you throw out a clunker against Louisville. You throw out a clunker against Clemson. You don't see those clunkers. Even the two losses this year, those weren't clunkers. The Northern Illinois game, that was a clunker It's the last one that Notre Dame's had in the last 2 seasons. So it's very impressive with Marcus Freeman and these Fighting Irish. We will see them close the regular season very late. Get your coffee, take your nap, whatever you got to do to stay up into the wee hours of Eastern time Sunday morning, because that's a late kickoff Saturday night. I'll be there to cover it for blueandgold.com. In the meantime, definitely stay at this YouTube channel for all of our video content this week. Happy Thanksgiving as well. We'll have some Thanksgiving-related stuff on the website as well, so definitely go to blueandgold.com for that. Yeah, but until then, that's Jack Sobel. I'm Tyler Horka with blueandgold.com and Blue and Gold Illustrated.